Welcome back, everyone. Great to be with you. Excited to start another week of Zohar. And what a powerful week it is, the week of Purim. This entire week is full of this great light. And we know what the world is going through right now. It might seem like it's in just a few places, but we have a lot of work to do to make sure everything goes in the right direction. We know that because we are the ones who have the consciousness, our consciousness affects everyone else. And of course, we want to awaken protection and um, light in all the places that need. But it's we determine with our consciousness, with our inner work, how this will turn out. So it's very important that we and Michael and Monica shared yesterday with the Chevra and with different Chevra around the world, the Chevra in Israel, that we should all connect more to the light of the Zohar during this time, especially it's not a coincidence that during the time of Purim and everything going on in Iran and everything, it's all connected, and our work is to just like Esther and Mordechai and the people at the time, our work is to remove all decrees, all judgment, awaken. Exactly, to remove our own Amalek within us. It's not an external battle, it's an internal battle. The external battle is just a reflection of what's going on within. So we have a lot more work to do to manifest the miracle, to manifest the true light that needs to be revealed. And just like in Purim, there's the Mordechai and Esther and the people did their inner work, and then everything manifested from that. So let's read from the Zohar to awaken this light, awaken the light within us, awaken the light in the world, and meditating that through this study, we awaken transformation, we awaken love, endless love within us and in the world. And tonight we begin the holiday of Purim, and that's really the holiday of Mashiach, the holiday of love. So we want to draw and prepare our consciousness for that. Just a reminder, we will have class as usual, uh, planning to at least have class as usual tomorrow, and that'll be at the same time as usual. So, with deep appreciation for Rabbi Shimon and all the tzaddikim, uh, it's so important that we ask, we desire that we don't study from the words of the Zohar, the words written down, or that you don't study from even from me or from anyone. We want to study directly from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So we're awakening more desire that Rabbi Shimon is the one who teaches us. Because if we're not studying from Rabbi Shimon, we're not really studying the Zohar. So we want to awaken that desire, that appreciation, and desire the merit to be really studying directly from Rabbi Shimon. That's how the tzaddikim study. And none of us are tzaddikim, but if we never have a desire, for sure it'll never happen. Rabbi Shimon doesn't just show up out of nowhere. A true connection to the Zohar doesn't just happen. There has to be true desire. And if we don't have desire, as Rav Ashlag would say, we have a desire to have a desire. So here is the prayer of the Ari. Prepare our consciousness for this great revelation. ריבון העולמים ואדוני האדונים, אב הרחמים וסליחות מודים ונחל לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו מקדש ושלחם שקרשנו לתורתך ולעבודתך ולאת הקודש ולתת לנו חלק בסודות תורתך הקדושה. ואנו מחיינו שעשיתי עמנו חסד גדול כזה. וכן אנחנו מעפילים תחנוננו לפניך שבלכו ותסלח בכל חטאותינו ועוונותינו ואל יהיו עוונותינו מבדילים בינינו לבניך. וכן ירצון פניך עלינו ולבתינו שתכונן את לבבינו ליראתך ולאהבתך. ותקשיב אוזנך ליבונאל ותפתח לבבינו הערה בסודות תורתך. ויהיה למדינזה נחת וכלפני חסך כעבודך כך ניחוח, ותציל עלינו עומק כל נשמתנו בכל בחינתנו, ושיתנוצצו ניצוצות דבריך הקדושים, שעל ידם גילית את דבריך בעולם, זכות אבותם וזכות תורתם ותורתם, יעמוד לנו עבודת כשביותם אלו בזכותם תארננו, ומה שאנו לומדים כמאמר נעים זמירות, ישראל גל עיני והביט נפלא מתורתך, כי אדוני ייתן חוכמה מפיו דעת ותבונה, יהיו רצונים מפיהם גנים לפניך אדוני וגואלי. So we're continuing on paragraph 59, and we're discussing the verses that we read about in the portion of Chayei where Abraham speaks with his servant Eliezer. But the Zohar is saying that it's not just a conversation between Abraham and his servant to find a wife for Isaac. It really is, on a deeper level, a discussion between the Creator and the angel Metat, the angel who is responsible for many things, all the angels, but especially, as we see here, for the resurrection of the dead. So finding a wife for Isaac represents finding a soul, the body for the resurrected body for the soul. So the verses continue, and we've spoken about this for a few days already, so we're going to just jump in. And in a few paragraphs, we'll get to Rav Ashлаг's commentary on all of this. So it says that, so he went out and so Eliezer, really the angel Metat, takes the camels and he goes out of the city and he actually has a miraculous journey and he comes to the well and he talks to the Creator. He wants a sign. How does he know which is the correct wife for Isaac? How does he know who is the correct resurrected body for the soul? Or who should be resurrected? He says, I'm standing here at the spring. Uvnot anshe ha'ir yotzot, and the daughters of the townsmen come out, lishov mayim, to draw water. So what does that mean? The daughters of the townsmen come out. Paragraph 59. Uvnot anshe ha'ir yotzot. Ma yotzot. What does it mean they come out? Come out, as it says, ve'eretz Ephraim tapil. As it says in Isaiah, that in the time of resurrection, that you make the land of the shades come to life, meaning that from the that in the future the body will cast out from within, the earth. In the future, the earth will cast out from it kol gufin de'inun begava, all the bodies that are within the earth. Right, so there will come a time when all the bodies that have been buried into the ground will be sent out of the ground. Ve'adaktiv, and therefore it says yotzot. That's why it says that the daughters go out. The daughters represent the feminine aspect, the body, the vessel. Reminding ourselves as we have the past few days, we're not here just reading and analyzing text. We're meditating that we're awakening this light of the end of the correction as we make this connection to this study. All Zohar does that. All Zohar connects to the tree of life and the correction, but especially ones that speak about the actual moments of resurrection, the actual moment of the end of the correction. So when it says that they come out, it represents how the bodies that come out from the ground, that are cast out of the ground during the time of the resurrection of the dead, Chiyat HaMetim. What does it mean, Lish'ov Mayim? Well, that's Yotzot. Lish'ov Mayim, to draw water. Lenat La Nishmata. It represents how they're here to take the soul, L'kabla Lakit Kayot, and receive the soul properly. Mitakna Me'ata, Kid Kachazeh. Which means that the body will actually be prepared, will be perfected, will actually be in a state to receive the soul as it should. Rav Ashlag I think it's the introduction to the Zohar, I don't remember which introduction, but he speaks about this concept of the resurrection of the dead. And he asks many questions about this whole concept of the resurrection. One of the things it says is that all bodies need to resurrect the way that they left this world, which means, let's say, God forbid, a person in their lifetime, they lost a finger, okay, or an eye, or whatever it is, but they were very old when they died. The body will first be, even if 1,000 years has passed, and the body is completely decomposed, it will be rebuilt. We learned a lot about this in the portion of Chayei, so we can't go into all the details, but it'll be reconstructed the way that it left, which means it was missing a finger, it'll come back missing a finger. Missing an eye, it'll come back missing an eye. Very old, and whatever issues the body has when it's old, it'll come back like that. And then the soul will come, and then the body will be perfected. So first it has to come back with its lack, and then it'll be perfected. And Rav Asher goes into a whole explanation of why that is. But one of the things he explains is that it has to, the resurrection, we're talking about the body that's going to be resurrected, is not going to be in the state of our bodies now, meaning a limited state, because the soul that we're talking about is a completely perfected soul. It is a limitless soul. So the limited body cannot hold that limited soul. It has to be a body that is immortal. It has to be a limitless vessel for the limitless soul, for the limitless light of the soul. So the resurrection has to happen in a unique way. It's not just the same body taking back the soul, because it's not the same soul anymore. It's a perfected soul. So the body has to also be in a perfected state, as the Zohar is saying here. Paragraph 60. So Eliezer in the story, but really the angel Metat, is saying, how do I know which body is resurrected to receive the soul? How do I know that it's in a state of perfection? So the sign that Eliezer asked for, but the angel Metat is saying, he says the woman, the maiden that says that I say to her, please give me some water. And she will offer water to me, but also to my camels. Then I'll know she's the right wife for Isaac. Then I'll know that's the right body for the perfected soul after the resurrection. The Zohar says, paragraph 60, the woman who says, the girl who says, give me from, please collect water for me from your pitcher so I could drink. Begin the ha'itma, because we've learned the chol inu nishmatin de alma, all the souls of the world, yitkaimu b'ha'alma, that exist in this world, v'ishtadlu leminda lemarehon be'raz dechochmat ha'ila, and they've made an effort. Their desire in this world and their effort in this world was to know their master in the secret of supernal wisdom. We'll explain soon what that means. Oh, we'll explain now, actually. What does it mean to know your master in the secret of supernal wisdom? Here, the Kabbalists explain this paragraph of the Zohar actually, and Rabbi Chaim Vital in the writings of the Ari, in the book of the Tree of Life, Etz Chaim, he says the purpose of every soul in this world is to do what the Zohar is saying here. Ishtadlu, to make great effort, to strive, liminda lemarehon, to know their master, which means to know the Creator, be'raz dechochmat ha'ila, in the secret of supernal wisdom. Rabbi Chaim Vital says that's the wisdom of Kabbalah. The purpose of every soul in this world is to study Kabbalah. Now, is every soul ready to study Kabbalah? Is every person ready to? No, not yet. Are we even ready to? Probably not yet, but we're working on it, hopefully. What is the work of every person to get to this place? The work of every person is to get themselves, Rabbi Chaim Vital says, to purify yourself to the state that you can actually start to study Kabbalah. And then by studying Kabbalah, by studying what's called the secret of this divine supernal wisdom, then you can actually study and then you can know the Creator. So every soul is meant to know the Creator. How do you really know the Creator? So that's the wisdom of Kabbalah. So this is, the Zohar is saying, this is what every soul is determined by, this process. How much did the soul connect to the light? How much did the soul strive to connect to the light? How much did the soul strive to have this consciousness throughout life? This soul comes to a higher level than all other souls. It ascends and comes to a higher level than all others. Exists on this very high level. Above all those other souls that did not manage to awaken this attachment, connection to the light. Right? It's a beautiful word, the dvekut, right? The attachment to the light. Knowing the Creator, the Rav would say, knowledge is the connection. How do you know the Creator? And by the way, what does it mean to know the Creator? To know the Creator means you only experience good, because that's the Creator. The Creator is only good. So we can check ourselves. Where do I stand here? Oh, maybe I started to study a lot of Zohar. Maybe I study a lot of Kabbalah. Maybe I study a lot, or I'm very spiritual. I follow up. Do I know the Creator? Do I experience the absolute good of the Creator always? So that level is above those who haven't, velayadu, and do not know, do not have this consciousness of connection to the Creator, do not have that certainty. Ve'inun idkaimun bekanmeta. And those who have this consciousness, they will be the ones who resurrect first. V'dahu she'elta dekaima eved leminda lemishal. So this is the question that the servant, meaning Eliezer in the story, but Metat, the angel, in the process of the resurrection, he asked, how would he be able to know that it's the right wife? How would he be able to know about the resurrection, that the soul is that the body is the correct body to resurrect? This is the question. He asked for proof. This is his proof. What was this soul busy with in this world? What are we busy with all day and all night? How are we spending our lives? Where am I investing my desire and my soul in this world? Am I investing it in truth, which means a connection to light, holiness, sharing, certainty, love, positivity for the world? Or am I investing it in selfishness? Am I investing it in temporary things? Am I investing it in my anger, in my reactivity, in my jealousy? Wherever I invest my soul, that's where the payout's going to come. If I invest my soul in connection to the Creator, in bringing light to this world, in knowing my soul, knowing the Creator, then that's the proof that I've actually, or that's the sign that I finished what I had to do, or at least I'm on the way to finish what I have to do. And that's why Eliezer and Metat asked this question. How did you invest your life? How did you invest the light of your soul? That will determine which souls resurrect first. And that's why he asked, this is also, the Rav explains, how did Isaac know that Rebecca was his soulmate? It says, as we learned this in the portion of Chayei Sarah, that when Rebecca came into Sarah's tent, Sarah's candles came back. It says that Sarah had candles that were lit she would light them before Shabbat, and those candles would stay on all week. And that was the light of Sarah that remained all week, light of Shabbat that continued to shine throughout the week. And then when Sarah passed away, her candles also went out with her. So when Rebecca came, it says the candles returned. The Rav says that, how did Isaac know that Rebecca was his soulmate? It's because Rebecca had the same affinity, the same light as Isaac, or the same light as Abraham, the same light as Sarah. They were all they all had the desire to share. And the Zohar will be more specific about that soon, what that means. But they were all in affinity. They all had this same consciousness. So the soul is checked not by how much it knows, but does it have this consciousness of sharing, certainty and sharing, right? So Eliezer wanted to see who would bring me water, but also who would go above and beyond and share water with all the camels, right? Who has this consciousness of sharing? Then the Zohar continues, paragraph 61. So she says, not only will I give you water, but I'll also give water to your camels. But first, she says, first you have to drink. Why? Oops, 61. First, you have to drink. And then I'll also give your camels to drink. Begin the chol inun sh'ar etichin. Because all the other levels, all the other chariots, avagavdid shakyan mehaidaga, even though they all drink from this level, kulu it shakyan mifulchana de tzadikaya. All the levels are fed, they all drink through, they're all watered through the work of the tzaddikim. That they know the work of their master as they should. The tzaddikim, the righteous, know how to nourish all the other levels as they should be nourished, know how to provide for all the levels beneath them, right? The tzaddik is the level of Yosef. And that's why it says, I will also I will also feed your camels. Surely I know that this is the woman, which again means the vessel, the body, for resurrection, that the Creator has shown me to be for the son of my master. The son of my master represents the soul. By the way, Rav Ashla will explain all this. Hopefully we have time to go through all the commentary here. Vadahi ihu gufa. Surely this is the body. That is prepared, that is appointed for this supernal soul. Okay, so now that we've gone through most of the text, Rav Ashlag now brings it all together. So he starts off by explaining that back in the portion of Chaisara, we went through all this, especially on paragraph 70. He explained this concept of death. To understand resurrection, you have to understand death. So he says, what is death? He says the secret of death, Sod Hamita. He begins by explaining that the body, the life of a person is 70 years. We know obviously people live more than 70, people live less than 70. But the standard life energetically is 70 years. Why? Because it corresponds to the 7 sfirot, each containing 10, that correspond to our world. The 70 lights of our world, every person living through their life, it represents the process of revealing the lights, correcting these different 7 sfirot, starting from Chesed down to Malchut. So we spend the 70 years of our lives correcting these different levels. However, when we get to the level of Malchut, that's where the final correction exists. Because of the fall of the tree of knowledge, it's the hardest tikkun. Because of the fall of the tree of knowledge, that's where the most judgments exist. And if a person is not able to correct that, then he dies. Now, we're not just speaking, don't say, oh, well, a person only lives to 69, oh, a person lived to 75, they must be a righteous person. Don't go into practicality right now. We're just understanding the concept, the theory, and then later you can do what you need with it. But this is not for practical understanding or purposes here. This is not to start judging or think we understand anything because we, understood a little bit. Because this is in, let's say, theory in a we're talking spiritual worlds here right now. So Rav Ashlag says because there are 2 aspects of the Malchut. There's what's called the 2 points, the 2 dots, nekudot, the points of Malchut, which represents the different aspects of the Malchut as a vessel. One is called revealed, one is called concealed. When Malchut is of her own aspect, that is concealed. When it's from Binah, the vessel of Binah, then it's revealed. Because when it's from Malchut, from her own aspect, Malchut has no light of her own, no light of its own, and therefore it's concealed, which means the life cannot be manifest through it. It cannot receive light. When Malchut is not perfected, which means, simply, what does it mean to have the vessel of Binah? Binah represents the sweetening of judgments and the ability to receive endless light. When a person in their Malchut, when their vessel is not like Binah, when the mother and the daughter are not the same, then the vessel cannot receive. When we haven't managed to awaken the consciousness of Binah throughout our lives, of sharing, then the Malchut is not able to exist past 70, let's say. And therefore, the vessel of Malchut needs to be concealed. And because it's concealed, then all the lights within it, which represent the life force, are removed from it. And this has to do because when you have attachment to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, sometimes you experience light, sometimes you don't experience light. So a person with that type of vessel doesn't experience that light, doesn't really have that life force. Therefore, when a person gets to 70, then that vessel appears and the life force of that person leaves them. However, at the end of the correction, there will be when there is what's called the great unification of the head of Atika, the Malchut now receives the perfection on this level, then there will be then the vessel will be in a state of perfection that the bodies will be resurrected, and then the life force comes back. Now here, Rav Ashlag goes into explaining what's the difference between what's called the dead of Israel and the dead out of Israel. And we explained a bit about this, but here he repeats it and clarifies it again. The tzaddikim, the righteous, that are attached to the central column, meaning those who live a life of restriction, those who live a life of, as we explained, the pause, not reactivity, not instant gratification, that's what's called Israel. So again, the country, the nation, all that, all represents the consciousness of restriction. And those are the ones who resurrect first. However, those who are not attached to this level of central column, they have to go through additional corrections, right? Because if you have the consciousness of restriction, then the Malchut is in the state of perfection and it actually can receive the resurrection. But those who haven't, then there needs to be additional corrections, additional work. That's why it says people buried outside the land of Israel. It doesn't necessarily mean physically. It means those who have the consciousness of outside of Israel, which means do not have the consciousness of central column. It says that the bodies will have to roll through tunnels underground to come out in the land of Israel, and then they will go through, then they will receive their soul. What does the rolling mean? Is Gilgul. Gilgul means to roll. Gilgul also means like reincarnation, but it means a process of correction, a correction process of a painful correction process, but to get the body back to a state to correct what it needs to get to the level of those who are of the central column, meaning the land of Israel. So now Rav Asha goes through all the verses to bring it all together. And there's a few more things, hopefully we'll get to everything. So when it says that Abraham talks to his servant, Abraham represents the secret of Chokhmah. To his servant, Eliezer, that is the angel Metat. And it represents the light of Chokhmah, the light of Chokhmah that is drawn from the unification of the Zerapin and Nukva of Atzilut to the worlds of Bria, Yitzira, and Asiyah, to the lower worlds. Right? It's the light revealed above that shines below, and that light below shines even lower to our world. That's all in the angel Metat. And that's why Metat is called the Sarapanim. He's the master angel above all others, but Sarapanim means the minister of the face. Face represents the light of Chokhmah that shines, because Chokhmat Adam Ta'ir Panav, the wisdom of a person shines on his face. So that's the angel Metat. And that's why he's called Zekan Beito, the elder of his house, because he's someone who has attained wisdom. Wisdom comes not physically with age, but usually it does, hopefully. But it represents, as a person gets older, they draw more of the light of wisdom, more light of Chokhmah. And why was he the master of everything that he had? That represents that he was the master of Chokhmah and Chasadim together. Master of light of mercy and light of wisdom, which represents the perfection of the three columns, right, left, and central column. And he says, put your hand under my thigh, which represents the level of Yesod, that the level of Yesod is awakened within him, and receive the great light at the end of the correction. So this verse, just in this verse, sounds like a simple verse. Abraham's calling the servant. Within this verse represents the light at the end of the correction being revealed. And what does he say? He makes him swear. Swearing, as we said, represents the Ashbiacha, comes from the Shvuah, comes from the word Sheva, which means seven. He awakens the seven lights. The seven lights are awakened to correct the Malchut. And that's the perfection of the sun and the moon together, which mean male and female, light and vessel, are in a state of perfection. And he says, make sure not to take a wife. The wife represents the body, livni for my son, which represents the soul, from the daughters of the Canaanites. What are the Canaanites? The people of Canaan represents people who are attached to the left column, those who are what are called impure, which do not have the vessel to receive the pure and perfect soul, the perfect light of holiness, the soul of holiness. And what does he say? You have to go to my land. What is my land? That represents the land of Israel, land of restriction. And El Moladati, and go to my kindred, right? The people who are like me, which means those who have the consciousness of Israel, that in their life they were attached to central column, that they lived a life of restriction. And that's why he took the 10 camels. What are the 10 camels? The 10 camels is this light of Chasadim that is awakened. And then he took V'chol Tuv Adonav, and all the good of his master, which represents the light of wisdom. So this angel took the light of mercy and light of wisdom, and he brought them together, that's the process of the resurrection. So Eliezer, or the angel Metat, needs a sign to know which soul, which body needs to be resurrected. So he says, how do I know? Whoever I ask for water gives me water and gives water to my camels. I know it's the ones. So it represents the bodies in this world. He checked the bodies in this world if they were attached to the central column. Right? We also explained that part of our work in this world is to transform our body consciousness to the soul consciousness. So after a person lives a certain time in this life, how much of their body consciousness was transformed, that determines how they left their body and how they left this world. So even if the resurrection is later, it still matters what the process you went through. And that's the cleansing process that this whole goes through after, etc. But that's why it says that tzaddikim, their bodies do not have impurity, because the body of a tzaddik is so purified, the consciousness of the body of a tzaddik is so purified that the body becomes even holier than some people's souls. The body of a righteous person is holier than a person's soul, a normal person's soul, because they're so attached to the central column. They've removed all negativity, all left column energy, all selfishness. So when he says that first you drink, it means the light of Chokhmah that is awakened, light of wisdom. And then, which means that's the aspect of the servant. And then I will feed your camels. Then your camels will drink. Camels represents the light of wisdom, the light of mercy, as we said. So what was the servant checking? Was there the light of both wisdom and mercy drawn? Did this person have a balance between the light of wisdom and mercy? Was there affinity between the person and the creator? Right? Is there affinity between the person, the servant and the camels, the person and the creator? Was there this light of mercy and wisdom? Did this person draw both these lights, which represent central column in their life? And then it says, there, that is the person that you've proven for Isaac, which means the body that's proven for the soul. That's a person that can be resurrected. That's the secret of Isaac. And why? So here now we'll just end with this. There's a few more paragraphs, but we'll try and do them quickly. That's why it says that he was searching to know who has this consciousness. Oh, so here he explains, okay, why does the servant have to go first before the camels? Servant represents light of wisdom. Let's put this back. Servant represents light of wisdom, and camels represent light of mercy. If the light of mercy is awakened without wisdom, it's a much lower light. It's called the lower light without the upper three. First, you have to awaken the light of wisdom. Then you awaken the light of mercy, which also, we can also apply this to our lives. Just sharing without consciousness is going to be on a much lower level. That's why it's important to study. When we study, we draw the light of wisdom. With the light of wisdom, your sharing actions are a much more elevated state. It's more than just good nature. It's light of mercy that is attached with light of wisdom. It's in a much higher state of light. It's called da'at. That's the light of da'at that is revealed. Light of da'at is a light of consciousness. And that's the light of chasadim, but it's on a higher level. Okay, and then that's why we read at the end of paragraph 61 that the soul checks. The soul has to be checked. Did it have this consciousness? This is basically our life. Am I balancing light and wisdom? Do I have central column? Am I awakening restriction? Am I awakening through my study and through the drawing of light, light of wisdom, but then am I bringing into this world with the light of mercy through my sharing actions? Then the light of mercy is on a much higher level. We'll stop here. We'll continue with paragraph 62 tomorrow on Purim, and it's an incredibly powerful light that we can reveal together. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. Let's prepare ourselves for this great light of Purim and do everything we can to with our consciousness to be all together. Before the connection in Israel, there's going to be a live stream. An email is going to go out today for everyone to join our community in Israel before they do their Megillah reading. So there's going to be, I think, a Zohar reading and Ana B'Koach that we can all connect before they do their connection, as they're doing the connection for all of us. So look out for an email. Hopefully, I'll try and post it in our chat as well, so we can all join for that. Thank you, everyone. Happy Purim. Chag Sameach. Lots of love to everyone. And for those in London, see you tonight. And for the rest of us, see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.